Hey everybody, it's Damon from the Tiny House Experts, and today we're going to take a tour and do a little how-to video section, maybe a 2 or 3 little videos. I'll probably put these out on shorts as well as the long form. But today, let me just flip this around here. And today, I have one of the 2 groups from the Technical College of the Rockies here in Western Colorado. They are going to get some notes taken on their project that they started about a month ago, which we're going to open this door really quick and show you guys where that is. They're building one of those. So we're going to take a look at some of the details today. And sorry if I'm yelling in the microphone while I'm out here in the shop, but it's loud. We've also got a request for a better video of how to put down our foundation anchors. So got that set up over here where I'm going to actually show you guys with some of the students how to do that. And yeah. We'll get some questions answered for you today. So let's get started. Okay, so first things first, everybody always has detailed questions about how to put in the foundation anchors in a wall system here on our tiny house foundation. So I'm going to show everybody today a little bit more about that. And I've got a couple of helpers. I've got Mark, who is one of the construction instructors at TCR, and his top student, Jose, who's going to give us a hand. He's going to run the equipment today. And we're going to do the steps in order so that you guys can kind of see step by step what the process is and make sure that we're doing it all to code and keep all the engineers and everybody happy. So I'm showing you underneath here because in a few minutes we're going to hang a magnetic base drill press, commonly referred to as a mag drill. We're going to stick that up under there and punch some 5/8 holes up through this really thick piece of steel right here. And we'll show you how that all works. So stand by while we get set up.
Well, I think I know how you put it all on because we just drill down through that with that drill. That's our pilot.
Yep.
And then we come up with the mag drill from the bottom, and then we just bolt it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Jose, if you would, can I have you grab that drill and that Simpson anchor that we showed you there? I'm going to come around here so we can get in close. And what you're going to do is put a pilot hole right through the middle of that thing where it's going to sit. But go ahead and get it started. And we're going to mark where the hole goes. Go ahead and pull that out now. And you see there, you should see it, there's a center hole. So go ahead and drill that all the way out, all the way through the bottom there.
What do you think your best cordless tools are? What works the best for you?
Our best what?
Cordless tools.
I like my Makita here. My personal set is D-Wall.
Yeah.
My partner, he swears up and down 2 screws and 2 screws.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you can't really run that in there. You know, you can't.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, you can't run it in there.
Okay. Now, what that pilot hole there does, let me try and get sorry about the light, everybody. This pilot hole allows us to cut this hole from the bottom side with the mag drill. So this is our Simpson anchor. This is the location of the Simpson anchor. We've located this, and now what we have is a pilot hole up underneath here. You can see that. We're going to use, there's a pin on the mag drill that lets us center it to this location and then magnetize it on the back side and shoot that hole in. So we're going to show you what that looks like here in just a second. Okay guys, we've attached our mag drill. It's upside down, as you can see. I'll kind of try and keep that oriented as best I can for the video. And up inside, right there is that hole with a collapsible spring-loaded pin that centers this before it shoots up into the steel. So it's magnetized to the bottom, and you can tell by the red light being on. If Cody were to turn that off, it will fall right off, and it weighs about 50 freaking pounds. So be careful not to bump that switch once you get it set, or you're gonna have some sore toes. All right, we're magnetized, we're located, we're centered. And we're going to go ahead and shoot that hole up through the top. And he's going to stop a few times. And you'll see a chip come out here in just a second. And you don't want that to get long. It'll sling around and swipe you in the face or the arms or the hands, and it's just like a stringy razor blade. It's no fun to deal with. So see that chip in there. He's going to stop feeding it for just a second, let that fall, and then he's going to start again. And keep it manageable. So we're only looking for, small chips like that don't get slung around and cut us up. So just a little safety tip there, gloves, eyes and ears, make sure your PPE is on. That's personal protective equipment. All right, through the top. Oh, we got to get the wood plug out of there, and then you're going to see it come up through the top. Now we've got a 5/8 hole. And if I can get Jose back over here to help us finish the installation process, go ahead and take that HTT anchor and center it up over your hole there. Nice. We're going to take this grade 8 5/8 bolt, this fender washer, and we're going to go up underneath the bottom side and put it up through that hole. Perfect. Now we're going to take the anchor, make sure it's sitting right through the middle of that, and then put your lock nut. This is a nylock. You guys see that nylon inside there? This is a locking nut that goes over this bolt right here. And this area is, you don't put a washer here according to Simpson Strong Tie, because this is going to get crushed when we torque this down. So we're going to put a torque on this of about 110 foot-pounds. And that's going to crush all these together and act like our crush washer right here at the bottom. So we're going to grab a couple of tools. Let Jose tighten this guy down. I'm going to say this for the video. So Jose's putting this together, and you can see this is kind of leaning just a little bit. Left to right, we had some of this debris right here underneath the thing. And this gives us the opportunity to still move it around and get it squared up to the stud before we mount it. And then what we'll do is we're going to screw that down to 110 foot-pounds, and then we're going to fill these guys up with number 12 tech screws, which are these little guys right here. Okay, so wherever you see those holes, that's where a tech screw is going to go. And we're going to go ahead and tighten that up. And we'll be back in just a second to take it on another step. So Jose's got a wrench on the bottom, and he's got an impact gun on the top. And we're going to tighten those down. Go ahead and let that rip, buddy. Give it a hard wiggle. There you go. Ta-da! So that's fastened. And then you can see how this kind of squared itself up to the stud once we squared it to the bottom of the chassis down here. So when this got tight, this got pretty vertical and square to the chassis. So that's why we attach this first, and then we come back and we fill these up with our screws, because we don't want any lateral tension on the studs before we put this down. So we put this first, and then we attach it to the king studs in the wall frame next. Isn't that right, Mark?
It does, but it looks like that stud's leaning that way.
Well, it probably is. You got to stand on your good foot.
So tell me about that washer thing again. I missed what about what you were saying about that washer?
So Simpson Strong Tie folds all these over. I'm going to try and squeeze in there. Actually, give me just a second. I'm going to grab another one of those so we can see it and talk about it next to where it goes. Okay, we're back with a an example. Here's one installed, and here in my hand I've got one that's not yet installed. And Mark, you had asked, what's the story about this crush washer thing, huh? So they fold this metal over. Let me get a couple angles of it here so you can kind of see what we're talking about. They fold this metal over on itself after they assemble the bracket so that all of this comes together and crushes out like a compression fitting crush washer,
Right.
or a lock washer, if you will. We take this even one step further with those nylocks when we call out that kind of fastener.
Yeah.
Any vibration or road noise or anything like that will keep it from wanting to vibrate loose and come out of there and potentially cause a foundation anchor failure. We don't want that.
No.
So this is important. I don't know that it would hurt anything to put a washer on top here, guys, right here where my thumb is, but this whole thing that my thumb is sitting on is, in fact, a crush washer from Simpson Strong Tie.
Makes perfect sense. I got it. Yep.
Okay, so what we'll do next is we'll go backwards on this little fake wall that we built here. We've done the side walls, and just so you guys know, you put these in about every 4 feet, okay? On average, if you, the closest you can get it to a 4 foot on center location down the long walls here. So all the way down this guy, there are no fenders on this deck over. So we would just run HTTs pretty much the whole length of the trailer down both sides, and then attach underneath with our bolts coming up from the bottom, nuts on top through the HTT anchors.
So I got a question. On ours, there was a few instances where we could not fit the strong tie on the base. Is there anything wrong with putting it that way?
Great question. The answer is no. There's nothing wrong with that. Todd's one of the other instructors. He's got a bum wing here. He just got some surgery done on his shoulder for his pitching career and had to go on hold for a minute. He's asking, he said in a couple of spaces, he couldn't get a Simpson anchor on the hard side of the stud. Maybe another one was too close to this or something to that effect. And this, he couldn't get it to land right here like this. So what we're going to do, and what he asked if is okay, can we flip this around and put it on this side? And the answer is absolutely. If that's where it goes, and you can get all the screws in that you need, and you can get to that bolt hole, and you can get it all attached, then 100% that'll work. Okay? So we're going to take just a couple of seconds to set up the front wall and the end wall, and then we'll be back with those.
I know.
Okay.
Over. Todd, you got a question you said?
So I know you haven't covered this yet, but on ours, we've got these two different clamps. Which goes where?
Great,
and why?
That's a great question. I'm going to give you the answer. This is an RCK W3. It's made for a 1/2 inch hole or 2 1/4 inch holes. Those are the anchors to the foundation. So 1 or 2. So 1/2 inch or 2 1/4. And depending on how tall the wall is that this attaches to, and they kind of do the same thing as the HTTs, but in a different way. So if you can see how an HTT doesn't really have a lot of connection down here, the RCKs have all of their connection that half of the stud. So we take these, let me take this guy out. So we put that one in, the RCK, and then the RCK stiffener. And what this is designed to do is double up your shear front to back, okay? Give you a screw boss. You know, this is 3/16 and this is 3/16 thick. So you got 3/8 of metal helping support the shear of the 2 1/4 inch fasteners going through the deck, and then another 1/2 inch plate steel on the bottom. So you have plenty of threads and you have plenty of strength to attach that with. And then similarly, just take number 12 tech screws and screw it to the face of the stud. So because we can't get to a bolt on the back and the front of the house the way the chassis is built, we use the smaller deck screws like we use here. You know, these are 1/4 by 20 grade 5 fasteners. They're really strong. 2 of those gives us an equivalent for Simpson Strong Ties engineers of a 1/2 inch grade 5 bolt through the center. So this is a solution if you have to put an anchor down over the fender, if you have to get really close to a corner, like a California corner, and you can't get any wrenches or anything like that in there, you can flip that around and get it on the hard side of the nearest stud, and that'll give you enough shear, because your long walls are going to support your shear on your short walls anyway, aren't they?
So would
Considering how those work.
are you saying these go on this wall?
That's right.
The end wall.
And over the fenders.
And yeah, I got over the fender. This is where I was.
And this is a good clip solution if you have a tight area for a door rough opening. Like if the door is really, really close to the fender and you can't get an HTT anchor in there, you can put those guys in to help the strike side of the door jamb. Just give it some extra anchor beef so that you won't have a loose door over time.
These are just on the long wall.
Those are generally just on the long walls, yeah.
Yeah, because we don't have a way to get through.
There's no sill plate sticking out like this on the front and back. And here we got a sill plate sticking outboard, so we can lay in that right on top.
How wide is this tube?
This tube is 2 inches wide, and then you have a 3-inch. You have a 3-inch landing here. So if you look at my screw schedule layout, we shoot this out at 12 by 16 as a grid. So every 16 inches on center going this way is a cross member or a floor joist. And then every 4 foot, you've got a reveal. Okay? So going this way, left to right, we're doing 12 inches on center. So 12, 24, 36, 48, and so on. Here, this is the center of your 2-inch tube. Okay? And then to support the front and back wall, from here out, we have a 3-inch, quarter-inch sill plate that sits there. So you got a total of 5 inches to land a wall bottom plate on. And then we're going to go back and fasten it straddling that joint, because there's a joint with the 2 pieces of steel right here. In fact, I'm going to take a second and go over to an unpainted trailer and get a little clip of that so you guys can see. Hang on one sec. Okay, let's walk. Okay, so here's a 2-inch tube. Here's a 3-inch sill plate. So you can see it comes inboard of the foundation quite a bit and sits over the insulated cavity there. And the challenge is we have to take this and straddle it with a bracket. We do that with that RCK rather than having one bolt go right through the middle there where that seam is. We use an RCK to split it and spread the load out across the bottom plate of the wall even more, or a little more evenly rather. So what's going on under the flashing, what's going on under the underlayment is that 2-piece sill plate on the front and the back walls. So very different than the flat 6-inch sill across the outside. See, that goes all the way down to the fender area, but this one has to be attached differently because it's not outboard.
Well, this is just my bit. It's a 5/16 or 3/8 reversible.
Nice.
Magnetic tip. These ones are 3/8. You want the 3/8 or you want the 5/16?
Whatever fits there.
How's it go on the same shaft?
This fits on there.
That's impossible. Can't do it.
That's for your RCK W3. You got 5/16 screws?
I believe so.
A couple there.
Okay, we're back with the front wall now. And we've stuck a couple of screws in there just to kind of hold it in place. And we're going to take this RCK W3 and the RCK W3S. That's these 2 pieces right here. This is the stiffener and this is the RCK W3 bracket. So I'm going to have one of the students come over and we're going to shoot this in here like so. It already kind of looks the same as the HTT4 did a moment ago on the other side for the long walls, but the difference is we're going to use those 2 smaller holes on either side, those 1/4-inch bolt holes instead of the 1/2-inch center hole, because of what we just showed you a couple minutes ago. The way the trailer is built, that won't necessarily fly. So we're going to do this, and we'll get our mess, our tools set up here, and we'll get one of the students to show us how this is done here in just a second. All right, Jose, let her rip, buddy. He's going to mark his holes. So he's got both of those located. Now he's going to drill them through into the steel of the chassis there, that black metal down at the bottom. All right. Now, go ahead and put the RCKW3 there. He's getting all the debris out of the way so he gets a nice flat mounting surface. Perfect. Next, I think I got to get you a drill with, I don't have a T30 driver on there. Hang on one sec. Okay. We got the right tool now. We got a T30 driver. It's a Torx bit. And we're going to shoot one of these floor deck screws down in there, that 1/4 inch bolt. And you can see them both in. And then we'll come back here in just a second and we'll put some number 12 tech screws there and we'll be set. All right, so the stiffener goes inside the RCK, and then line up the bolt holes, and we'll shoot those 1/4 inch by 20 screws in. Nice. So this gives us the end wall shear that we need. Back and forth. You can see here I'm wiggling this thing really hard. We haven't even got screws in. This is just foundation anchor to the bottom plate and how stiff that is. And once we fill these up with our tech screws, that'll hold it for the rest of its life, guys. Give me a second here. We're going to shoot these little tech screws in, just so you can see. These are number 12s. They got a little drill head on them. They're 1 inch long, a number 12 head or a 5/16 head. So that's what we're using here. And this one's a little bigger. Can't really tell the difference, but that's one size up. That's a 3/8 or a number 14 by 1. We use these to put the corner walls together. And we also use these for attaching wall to wall. So number 12s for those clips like this guy here, and 14s to assemble our end walls and our corners on our cold form steel framing. All right, I'm gonna let Jose finish up here, put a couple of tech screws in that, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. All right, Jose is gonna get some screws in this thing now. And we're gonna go ahead and fill them all up, guys. We don't have enough screws for the video. We've only got like 5, but if you see 9 holes here, make sure you put 9 screws in, because that's what the engineers at Simpson Strong Tie suggest you do. And I generally don't take engineers' suggestions lightly. I take them as gospel. Heck yeah. All right, so we would, in theory, we would go ahead and finish up and put screws in those last 4 holes right here. And then this anchor would be a done deal. Actually, give me a favor, grab that stick and kind of wiggle the trailer. Crazy, huh? So it's a 10 by 40 foot trailer. It weighs about 6,500 pounds right now. And he was grabbing that 12 inch, 20 gauge CFS stud with these anchors installed this way per Simpson Strong Tie and our structural engineering team to make sure that that is the way you put the end walls up. So if there are any questions, please leave a comment in the section below. I'm happy to answer those for you guys. Simpson Strong Tie has done a great job. They've been a wonderful partner with us for over a decade to help us develop some of these clips and fasteners and attachment systems for steel framing to keep bringing you the coolest tiny house stuff in the world. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you out there on the next one.
Hello. Hey. There's Rowdy. Shop dog.